Ransomware is software that can infiltrate your business through email, enabling cyber criminals to hijack sensitive information as ransom for your own data's release. Leveraging Barracuda email security with advanced threat detection can stop a ransomware attack in its tracks. As an added measure, Barracuda Backup allows you to recover your data without having to surrender to extortion. Crime doesn't pay when you protect your business data with Barracuda. Go to barracuda.com/ransomware to learn more.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Guys, it's Wednesday. Those of you who do not work in the sports talk radio business don't quite understand what that means. Shannon knows what that means. It's Wednesday. We earn our money on Wednesday.
And Wednesday is usually a tough day because we're done with kind of the reaction of the previous NFL week, but we're not quite at the preview stage yet. Preview really starts tomorrow, right? The hardcore preview.
Well, tomorrow we get a Thursday game, and so you get the injury stuff. We start hearing a little bit more stuff like that. But Wednesday, man, that is when people earn their money. In spite of my desire to put a stamp on this thing and mail it in, we're going to do the heavy lifting, baby. We are here for Thursday, and basically I'd like to thank the good folks at ESPN.com because they put out that NBA rank, and there's nothing like a list to get us through, boy. Let me tell you this about sports talk radio production meetings. Everybody come up with their ideas, and after that, well, there's this list. Tell me more. Tell me more. I will read this list name by name. Coming up next, number 43 through however many we can get through. And if you're lucky, coming up next, number 40 through however many we can get through, because you're going to read them things as slow as you possibly can. So the good folks did the NBA rank. They do this every year. Shannon, we're up now to, number 31? That's where we got?
Yeah, we're up to 31. Yeah, we started at 100, so now we're at 31.
Now, yesterday we found out that Carmelo Anthony was ranked at 64 because y'all be hating on Melo, and Lonzo Ball was rated at 63, one spot above Melo. Melo thought y'all were hating, and once again, I can tell you, Melo sent a tweet about me hating, saying he wasn't in the top 10 in 2010. Ask yourself this question for real. Had you ever heard of me in 2010? Did you have any idea who I was? We talking 7 years ago, homie. Did you know anything about me? And no, you did not. Melo saw me on First Take. Right, this is back when it wasn't even like the way they do it now. This is when you just pop in for the 4 downs. Melo saw that and said, let's toast to the haters. And that's because I said he was top 10, but not top 5. Melo wish somebody would say he was in the top 10 these days, and Melo didn't like it. He gave, what was the quote, Shannon? You need the darkness to see the stars or something like that.
Got really deep about it. So I don't know if that's Stay Mellow or Hoodie Mellow, one of the two.
Yeah, but then apparently they started the revolution, right? Because then all the players yeah, man, I hate these rankings, man. Everybody hates these rankings. They hate these rankings when they so low on them. And then C.J. McCollum, I like C.J. McCollum. C.J. McCollum said that he thinks the players should rank media members because the NBA guys weren't here for the list, which, by the way, just so you guys know, mo traffic. But anyway, put that down. Here is what C.J. McCollum had to say. We need to start ranking these week A journalists with descriptions of their strengths, weaknesses, and ability to make up sources. I'm a little disappointed, Shannon, that he did not make any reference to bums. That would have been a lot funnier if he had said that we was bums.
Had a funnier effect, absolutely.
When is it not funny for somebody to get called a bum? Because you know the thing is about calling somebody a bum? Bum is one of the few transgenerational insults. Old heads call people bums, young heads. Think about this. We call people in sports bums, even though we don't call people on the streets bums anymore because we are too sensitive to do that sort of thing, right? We do not call them bums, hobos, or anything like that anymore. But if you are weak in sports, we still call you a bum. I wish C.J. McCollum had come out and called people bums. I got to say, I really would not have a problem with those cats hitting us with our strengths and weaknesses and all of that stuff. I would kind of like to see what the list would be of the journalists as they describe their strengths and weaknesses. I wonder what it would look like also if some of these cats got to put together their own strengths and weaknesses, put together their own scouting reports. That's what we need to do. Every media member put together your own scouting report, and then send it to me, and I'll let you know if it's right. What would be on mine, Shannon? What you got? What you got on mine for weaknesses?
I don't know about that. I like staying employed, so we'll move on.
Yeah, I was thinking about myself, my weaknesses. Honestly, my weakness, man, I feel like I stop myself from reaching certain levels of greatness because I'm held back by basically being so humble. Now, you think about that, man. Think about what I could get done if I wasn't so humble, if I wasn't so, just trying to lay back in the cut, not really trying to stand out or nothing like that, man. I'm just trying to come in, do my job, and leave. See, there would be my weakness.
Workman's attitude, huh?
I remember my brother once said that. My brother once said this about himself. He was like, look, man, I don't know how you expect me to be humble if I'm this good. I'm joking, guys. No, I'm not. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. But this is like, in fairness to athletes, this is where I get where they're coming from, man. Somebody's always evaluating them, right? Like, it's hard enough for them that they live in this cutthroat world that they're in, but somebody is always evaluating them. And I imagine it does get old being on these lists and everything else. That being said, I feel like if you were in the top 60 in a league of 450 players, man, we're saying good things about you, right? Like, I feel like why are there not more people in the top 20? Because the top 20 only got 20 people. That's why. That being said, Shannon, you think C.J. McCollum feels a little better about it now that he made it in the top 30?
How that works. He almost made it. He made it. He's at 31.
Oh, he's at 31.
Almost made the top 30, but still, yeah.
I mean, I feel like, I wonder if he saw the first list and didn't see himself and thought he wasn't on the list at all. He's like, man, forget about this list. And then he looked up and saw himself and was like, I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? Everybody's entitled. Let me tell you who really doesn't like this, though. Musicians, man. Musical artists. You never know when it's going to be the one that's going to set them off. Like, they show up to the office with the tater when they do not like where they have been ranked or how they have been reviewed or something like that. Chad, you remember that phone call? Do you ever hear that one that Wale had with the dude from Complex because he was mad because Juicy J's album was on top of his?
Yes, I do remember that, yeah.
He was not having it, man. He was not having it. But very few of us exist in a space where we are evaluated in this context. I once had somebody call me up mad as hell about something I said, not even about him, just about somebody he was cool with. I mean, he was real cool with him, but somebody he was cool with called me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Low-key threatening. Low-key threatening. Nobody likes this, but I would like to see like a ranking of where the players would have the journalists. Because, I mean, like, straight up, a young cat hit me up yesterday, and he was like, look, I'm about to start covering the beat for the first time, and I was just wondering if you had any ideas, any advice, rather, which is pretty interesting because I have never covered a beat, so I don't really have any tricks I can tell you that. I was like, only thing I can tell you, man, the currency is trust. The currency is respect, right? Like, if you can put yourself in a way where people trust you and where people respect you, then you'll be fine doing that job. So when McCollum talks about the ability to make up sources, now the players do know who those cats are. That is the one thing. The players do know who's out here making stuff up. And yes, there are people out here who make stuff up, right? Like, there are times you be like, oh, hold on, buddy, I don't know about that one. The players know who those cats are, and they got the right to not respect them because the reality is, man, somebody come out here and lie on their name based on the respect they get from whatever publication or whatever they worked at. Then your name is out there like that. Your name is done. So I would like to hear from the players, like, so who are the people you trust? You know what I mean? Who are the cats that you respect? I would love to know that. Assuming I'm one of them.
You in the top 100, Bo?
I feel like I should be in the top 100. The 100, like top 100? I think I should be in the top 100.
Now, I'd imagine, based upon McCollum's tweet, that he's just talking sports media.
I would assume.
Okay.
I feel like I should be. You think I'm top 100? Let's make a poll out of that. Is Bomani a top 100 sports journalist?
No, even better. Would you be higher than 64? But if we did the top, media member poll ranking, would you
am I the mellow? Like, that's what you're trying to figure out. Is am I the mellow of this? That is I feel like I should be top 64.
But it's a follow question though. Like, who would you be which NBA player would you be if we were doing a media ranking? Because I don't really think you're mellow, but who would you be? I
mean, I'm just curious, Shannon. Is there any, like, multifaceted NBA player who has had immediate impacts when he has shown up places, was very good when he was very young and keeps getting older and hits his prime and continues to be good in spite of the fact that very often people fall off in moments like these? Does that sound like anybody? Also has a hairline that doesn't do the things that it should? Does that sound like anybody to you? Who does that sound like?
Wait a minute here.
Who does that sound like to you?
Wait a minute.
That doesn't sound like anybody to you? Is there anybody, is it familiar? Or, Shannon, incorrect. How about somebody really tall, really skinny, with a lot of range, the ability to take it to the hole when necessary, who very recently made a move into a new situation so that he could perhaps win championships. Got that quick release. How about that?
Has an affinity for University of Texas?
Boom! That's what I'm saying. Who else do I remind you of? I mean, given that, you can't say it now because he doesn't play, but if we were doing this list a few years ago, again, tall, kind of gangly, bald-headed, cocky with his just a little bit, and owns lots of Jordans. I wonder who that is.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
I'm telling you right now, if y'all ain't got me in the top 100, I can only assume that you're a hater, right? Like that. In fact, this is how I'm going to put it. If you don't vote me in the top 100, fine. Pass the phone to her and let her vote. Right. 888-729-3776. Hey, Tom Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So we've been doing this thing that makes our jobs a whole lot easier, where we let you guys tell these stories about what made you decide that you were quitting football, or what made football decide that it was going to quit you. Let us hit the phones and start with Gene in North Carolina. Gene, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, yo, Bo, man, you was a genius for coming up with this segment, man. These stories have been crazy. So look, my football got a 2-for-1 on my story. 2 for the price of 1. So look, my mama let it be known at an early age I wasn't playing football. So I had me an instrument. She said, you want some Friday Night Lights, you can join that band. So I was on the marching band. So I went to high school in Charlotte. We was playing a school called Independence High School. Don't know if you heard of them.
Yeah, they're good.
Six straight state championships, all that good stuff. In our school, we wasn't really good at football, and they didn't really have a really good band, so we didn't go to that game. It was at Independence, so the band didn't go. But all weekend, I keep hearing about, yo, man, CJ got rocked. I'm like, oh, man, that's messed up. So we get to school Monday. I'm kicking it with the basketball coach. I was at one of those type of schools where the basketball coach is also like the football coach. So I'm kicking it with him, and he's showing the tape of the hit of the game. And they play it in slow motion, man, and this is so crazy. So it's a punt, and he's just kind of out there. The punt's kind of wobbling around, so he's just kind of out there, just not paying attention to what's going on. And we play the frame by frame. You see one frame, you see my man there. He got his maroon helmet on and his white jersey, and nobody's around him. Next frame, literally, now there's a yellow Independence helmet and a green jersey in place of his body. And you kind of see my man's arms just somewhere in between the mess. And then next frame, my man is gone, and that was it. And when I tell you that boy never played football again after that day, and then me watching that film let me know, oh, so that's why my mama didn't let me play. Cool, I got my instrument. I didn't play. I learned all I need to learn watching that video. My man's never played again, and that was the day football got 2 people for the price of 1.
Hey, Gene, man, I appreciate the call, Shannon. I told you about my brother watching that game with my mom on the sideline, and then they were walking home, and she looked at him and said, I think I would just be in the band. Now, here's the thing about football, right? This saw an interesting story that came across. Canadian Football League announced no more full contact practices. Like, effective immediately, the Canadian Football League is not going to have full contact practices. There's a problem, obviously, there, which is, have you ever looked at a team that doesn't really practice, like, contact stuff? Like, I remember when Texas had that damn defensive coordinator that let a one-legged quarterback from BYU run on them for 700 yards. And one of the things that people said, and I don't know if this was the problem, was that he used what they called a thud technique, where you, like, hit the dude, but you don't hit the dude in practice. And that was one of the worst tackling teams that I've ever seen. You see a lot of people talk about how the tackling in the NFL isn't as good because they don't practice tackling nearly as much in practice. Like, if you're going to play football, you need to practice playing football. The small problem is football is so damn dangerous that it is not safe to practice. Can you think of anything else in this world where it is not safe enough for you to do on a recreational basis, but you still do it anyway? Like, that's where we are with football. That's the thing. It's so dangerous that we basically say the only time it is safe to play football is when the game counts. Otherwise, we say it's not safe. We don't think it's worth it to have people play in preseason games. We don't think it's worth it to have people play in practice. We only think it's worth it to have people play football in the games that quote-unquote count, which are the games where people make money and you get your most entertainment out of them. That's it. So, logically speaking here, how can you make the argument that football is safe enough to play under the bright lights if it's not safe enough to play under the dim lights in practice? Like, just a thought. Like, that's what we do. That's the game that we indulge in, right? And look, I'm here, man. I have come to grips with this. There's a lot of people that's out here deciding that they're going to boycott football. I'm going to be real with you. I ain't going to get a job that pay this much money anywhere else. I'm going to be watching this football every Sunday and bringing it right to you. Does that make me a sellout? Psh. All right. Be that. It's what it is. I'm still watching this football, I readily admit. But let's be real about what it is. We keep talking about how it is that we go make a safer cigarette. Okay, we get that. You're not really going to be able to make the safer cigarette. But in the end, if you decide that your game is not safe enough for you to act like you're playing it, is it safe enough for you to actually play it? Now, I want to see what happens with the CFL on this, because if the CFL still has decent quality of gameplay, then this might catch on. I don't see how it's possible to still have quality of gameplay without tackling in practice, like without some level of tackling. I don't see how you manage to do it. But Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, by the time the end of the season come around in football anyway, they're not doing practice, like contact in practice, because everybody hurts too much.
Absolutely, and you don't want to risk further injury by that point.
Once again, we're not going to play football. Why? You might get hurt. Okay, so don't practice playing football because you got to play football later. But I thought you said I might get hurt. Yeah, that was different. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's get one more story about somebody when football quit them. Let's go to Dan in Iowa. Dan, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo. Love the show. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, man.
I was going to tell you about the story when football scared my career to death. So as an 8th grade starting halfback, knowing that going into my freshman year of high school I was going to be starting, I watched the last game of the season the year before and watched my person I was going to be replacing get absolutely demolished by a little town next to us called Appleton and Parkersburg. And if you follow football close enough, a lot of NFL people know a lot about Appleton and Parkersburg because they brought 4 people to the NFL in 1 year when the town is like 500 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my freshman year, would have been being introduced to Aaron Campman, Casey Wigman, and 2 DeVries brothers that both played for Iowa.
Ooh, that doesn't sound fair.
Knowing what I was in for, that was the last game I played was 8th grade.
You didn't even go to the game.
Nope, I quit without ever being hit.
I told you, man, I appreciate the call. We were lining up in 7th grade to get equipment. My best friend had the courage I did not have. He looked at him and was like, can I be the water boy?
He was preemptive with his. He was like, yep, nope, I don't even need to get hit to make this decision.
Right, I have nothing to prove to y'all. Nothing at all.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line, just like our next guest. Works at ESPN The Magazine. Check him out on Around the Horn. Also, January 2nd, 2018, a new television show will debut. It'll be me. It'll be him. His name is Pablo Torre. Pablo, C.J. McCollum said that instead of having an ESPN rank for NBA players, that there should be a rank for weak journalists. You are like me. You're here for this.
I demand this. Like, one of the great things about the world we live in is that you realize what counts as objectionable controversy and what counts as super fun controversy. Like, there was once a time, Bo, I think, when I would have looked at the ESPN rank and the ensuing controversy and said, man, that is cheap and that is an affront to smart people who like to have smart conversations. And now I'm thinking to myself, man, I long for a time when this counted as controversial. Like, this is the tabloid sport that I want to retreat into when the real world gets sad. I want to debate whether I am number 37 on C.J. McCollum's big board, because that is the kind of pro wrestling argument that actually is fun.
I'm kind of here for it just because I'm petty, right? Like, I feel like I would rank pretty high. I feel like I do pretty well with that demo, right? Like, I think I could do okay.
So wait a minute. So you're in favor of this simply because you feel like you get on to the page of the power rankings that gets revealed last. You think you're going to be in the top 10, so you feel good about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been out here by now, I don't think. That's where I feel. I mean, where do you think you would be?
I feel like I deserve to be top 10, but at the same time, I feel like one of the things we're going to learn about this exercise, which we are gradually now forcing and bullying C.J. McCollum into executing, is figuring out who these guys actually read. Like, I don't know. That's the other fascinating part of this is, like, who is a big name to them is different than, I think, a lot of journalists perhaps own power rankings. And that's fascinating because one of the things we know, Bo, and one of the reasons why I want to retreat into this controversy and into this sport specifically at a time when the world seems kind of crazy, is that it's reassuring that NBA players are super sensitive about what journalists think about them. I like that there's this weird symbiotic relationship where both of us, both sides of the aisle in this, can actually come together, have a debate about our self-worth, and emerge at the end of the day largely laughing about it. That, to me, seems delightful.
We're talking to Pablo Torre of ESPN The Magazine, and I understand you saying that you think you would be top 10, but I feel like, young fella, you need to wait your turn. You got some people that you got to wait behind before you wind up getting there.
Wow. This is like the time when, well, first off, how long do I have to wait? Because I'm like turning 32 this month. I feel like my expiration date as a young guy. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said that, by the way. Should I not have revealed that? Should I be saying that I'm like 25 and a half eternally?
You can be 25 as long as you want, honestly. People won't have any ability to guess your age for a number of reasons that might get me in trouble to spell out. I'm just telling you that people will not be able to guess your age. I'm just telling you right now, man, I think you need to wait your turn. Now, your boy, oh, yeah, I'm top 10. I'm top 10.
Well, but let me ask you this. So in terms of sports, right, is there any sport that has just like the roster construction that would enable an equivalent list? Like one of the reasons why I think these NBA players get all agitated about this is because there's kind of a logic to a big board ranking of all the players in the league. Like you can say bigs need to be their own category, right? Like big men should be their own, but increasingly in the league, like we're finding there's a flattening across positions. So when we get to the debate about who's top 10 in the NBA, like, I feel like that's a discussion that you can't really have as well in the NFL or Major League Baseball or anywhere else.
Well, here's my question. Do they do this in hockey, right? Like, do hockey fans sit around wondering about who's top 10? I don't know what they do over there.
I don't know if they do. I will admit that I follow far fewer hockey Twitter accounts, hockey player Twitter accounts than I do NBA player Twitter accounts. But one of the things like that, I think Devin Booker, I was reading one of those roundups of like all the NBA players who are responding to this. One of the great things is that you realize, pretty much everybody is on Twitter in the NBA. But the second thing is Devin Booker was talking about how, we're ranking people like this is high school now. And my answer to him, very diplomatically but earnestly, is yes. Yes, we are in high school. This is look, ESPN could have made a series of TV specials in which they roll out the list, they bring out players, they bring out other authorities to discuss, and at the end of the day, maybe this feels kind of pro wrestling-y, but it kind of, like, I pivoted on this. I used to be a guy who's like, no, there must be a rational, objective answer, and this is not the forum in which to achieve that. But now I'm like, this just seems like exactly the antidote that I need, because you can make fun of journalists when we're ranking NBA players, and I don't feel bad about society when it's in the context of basketball.
But see, here's where I get on these NBA players on this one is where I understand they get tired of being evaluated like this, but ask any of them, they top 10 MCs, and they got to answer, right? And how many of them can rap?
Right. I feel like, and it's becoming even more brazen, right? Like, I don't know if it's surprising that Lonzo Ball was, basically being heretical when it came to his own rankings in terms of who qualifies as #real hip hop or not. But I feel like, yes, that's another thing that's guaranteed to basically create traffic for any outlet that pursues that.
Well, hold on, though. You know who would be number one on the journalist power rankings among NBA players, right? I give you a hint. I used to work with him.
There's a middle initial right in the center of that.
No. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about a dude that I used to work with on a daily basis.
Oh, Poppy?
Yes.
Poppy does. You know what?
That's number one right there.
The Venn diagram, right? If you're looking for a Venn diagram that somehow unifies both, let's say, Kevin Durant and Art Briles, the center of that Venn diagram in terms of fandom is Gonzalo Levitar.
Yes. That is it. Like, that's going to be the number one guy. We're all playing for second behind Poppy. We're talking to Pablo Torre here of ESPN, the magazine. By the way, is there any sport thing that you want to talk about? We got about a minute.
Not especially, but I guess I would ask you, like, what should the categories be for ranking journalists? Like, are we going to break it down into some sort of statistical stuff, or is it just kind of an overall respect ranking?
That's a very good question. Like, I'd be curious to know, like, how the players would vote. Like where would Woj be for the players, right? Like, I'd be very curious to know that. Where would he be for the players?
I heard Kevin Durant talk to Simmons on that podcast, the most recent one, and he was saying that he reads Woj to find out what's going on in the league. And by the way, this is also a world in which my friend Luke Wynn, who writes college basketball for Sports Illustrated or used to, just got hired by the Toronto Raptors. Like, one of the things that we're realizing is that journalists covering basketball are authorities not just to the readers and to fellow journalists, but also people in the sport. And that makes this sort of insane exercise maybe more legitimate than I thought.
All right, now that's Pablo Torre, a sub-top 10 journalist, unlike you, myself, here. Check him out, ESPN, the magazine, and perhaps January 2nd, 2018 on ESPN with your boy.
Also receiving votes in that top 10. That's what I want.
There we go. Get your weight up, homie. I'll holler at you soon.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
We got our list of the first-year Hall of Fame nominees for the NFL. Now, Shannon, we don't have a list of finalists, right? We're not that far in the process.
Not the finalists, but just a list of the first-year eligible guys for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
All right, now this became a little bit of a thing because Steve Smith was on that list, and people were a little surprised to see Steve Smith on the list, and they thought that it was an error that Steve Smith was on the list because Steve Smith just retired at the end of this season, but they already forgot about New York Giants legend Steve Smith. Shannon, does Steve Smith not have a Super Bowl ring with the Giants?
He does have a ring with the Giants. That is correct.
See, there we go. They trying to big up your team, man. Try to give some props to those rosters. But yeah, he ain't getting into no Hall of Fame. Now, the 3 first-year nominees that will jump off the list will be Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, and Brian Urlacher. Those 3 guys are first-year nominees. You almost got to feel a little bit bad for Rondé Barber because I think Rondé Barber is eventually going to get into Hall of Fame, but it ain't going to be this year. No, sirree, Bob. And so we got other finalists from last year still coming back around. Got Isaac Bruce, Kevin Mawai, Tony Pacelli, Joe Jacoby, who Washington fans, they've been trying to beg Joe Jacoby's way into the Hall of Fame for so damn long, man. Y'all barely got Art Monk. Y'all don't get no damn Joe Jacoby. Alan Faneca, Shannon, I just be taking somebody's word for it. I don't know what a guard got to do to get in the Hall of Fame. Do you? John Lynch. Okay. John Lynch and Brian Dawkins, they are on the list. Ty Law, Don Coryell, and Terrell Owens. T.O., they ain't never going to let you in the Hall of Fame. I mean, one day they're going to let you in the Hall of Fame, but it sure feels like they're never going to let you in the Hall of Fame. Look, if they brought out a list of Randy Moss, Ray Lewis, or Brian Urlacher, they're telling T.O., don't even get your hopes up this time, buddy. Like, there's no reason. Do not get your hopes up this time. No, you are not going to wind up getting in. But let me ask you guys a question about Randy Moss in this Hall of Fame. When did you guys decide that you liked Randy Moss? Because some of us have been Team Moss for quite a while. I noticed this. Like, granted, he works here now, so when they put him in the Ring of Honor in Minnesota, we did a big thing about it and all this. But, Shannon, I don't know if you've noticed this, but people aren't down on Randy Moss the way that they used to be down on Randy Moss. Like, you could hear the way people talk about Randy Moss right now and forget that he was a totally polarizing figure while he played football.
Like, it's funny now. For a group of people, the term straight cash homie is endearing now.
All of
it's funny how that works.
Right. Straight cash homie is endearing. We have forgotten about the time that he hit the meter maid with the car. It's almost like they've forgotten. Like, all of this is gone. Like, somehow along the way, people looked up and realized, maybe we were overreacting just a little bit when it came to Randy Moss. And now everything's okay, right? Like, now we all love Randy Moss. I don't know when that happened. I guess that happens occasionally with certain players. Ted Williams, it took a little longer in baseball, but they got to a point where people forgot that they hated Ted Williams. His relationship with the media didn't wind up being a thing. And maybe I think that's what happens with a guy like Moss, is so much of the way he was covered had to do with his sometimes awkward relationship with the media who covered him. Now the lens through which we view Moss is less through that media than it is through just what we remember, what we saw. And now for us, recollections of Randy Moss are recollections of joy. That's all it is. And there are no moments. Like, you think about this, though, with Moss. Other than the mooning thing in Green Bay, which I don't think anybody really thought was a big deal, but Joe Buck, you don't have those things with him like you had with Terrell Owens. You don't have it like you had Terrell Owens in the fight with Donovan McNabb. Not the fight, but like the thing with Donovan McNabb. You don't have a thing with Moss like intimating maybe that one of your former teammates was gay. You don't have any of those things with Moss. Like, I think that people really look back with Moss and everything was ultimately benign. And with T.O., dude, they just hate that dude.
Now, also, with this younger group coming up now, when they search Randy Moss in YouTube, nothing but outstanding highlights.
Yeah, but I guess what else would there be for T.O.? I guess sit-ups in the driveway could potentially get up there. And I want to be clear. T.O. is a no-brainer Hall of Famer. The idea that T.O. has not gotten in the Hall of Fame and the idea that there's some dorks out here who are just keeping T.O. out of the Hall of Fame because they can. Yeah, you're dorks if you're doing that. It's ridiculous to me. He should be in. It's just not going to happen anytime soon. So we will get the Randy Moss Hall of Fame speech, which will be one of our country Hall of Fame speeches of all time. And we will get the Ray Lewis Hall of Fame speech. And I don't know about you, but I'm sweating already thinking about that one.
So it's a no-brainer that Ray Lewis will be going last this year, right? His speech will be last.
I would assume so. And I also, do they have like a special summertime Beijing? Does anybody know? Like, I've never used the Beijing myself. Do they have a summertime Beijing? And I asked if they have the summertime Beijing, because otherwise, Ray Lewis is going to be looking like John Randall by the end of his speech. As hot as it is when they do that Hall of Fame ceremony and all that Beijing that Ray Lewis got to rock out there, Ray Lewis is going to be out here looking just like John Randall, the ultimate warrior.
He better have a black handkerchief.
Got to. Had a white handkerchief and just go tell on him. Completely and totally tell on him. Like, if he out there with a white handkerchief, he put it in his pocket and pull it back out, it's going to look like a pin exploded in his pocket. That's all that is. Like, you remember when Ray Lewis had to start wearing those hats? Because they had Ray Lewis sitting at the desk all the way to the side. And the problem with that was you got that sideways angle, and you got to realize just how much faking of funk Ray Lewis was out here doing, just how much Beijing. Like, how much Beijing did that have to be in order to make it happen? So then next you know, Ray Lewis had to come out here wearing those fedoras. And I feel like once you decide to wear the fedora, you can't wear the Beijing, because otherwise the inside of your fedora be all blacked up. Ray Lewis put his thumb inside that bad boy and put a fingerprint on the back of a check in case he can't remember he ain't got an account at that bank. That's what he's got. And Brian Urlacher out here faking. He's still out here wearing the plugs.
But in his defense, at least he's up front and very public about his faking.
He is. Yeah, I mean, he has no choice. You might as well own it. We know you ain't had that hair. And some of you guys may not know this, but Brian Urlacher started shilling for some hair plug company, right? And so his hair is all full and lustrous right now. And one day, that company sent me an email and asked if I would be interested in participating in the same program that Urlacher was in on. If I was willing to endorse it, then I would also get to use the program. And I'm sorry, man. I felt like they wanted me to go out like Karl Malone. You remember when Karl Malone used to do the Rogaine commercials? And Karl Malone come into the barbershop and sit down. Mailman, you got hair. And I just wanted to know where this barbershop was in Salt Lake City where the mailman was getting his haircut. Has anybody ever bothered to find that out? Because back in the 80s, Karl Malone was out here with like some decidedly 80s haircuts, right? All the pomade, right? He had a lot of Duke going on there. Where in Salt Lake City did they know how to properly apply the Duke to get him the haircuts that he had back in the 80s? You got to answer for that. Then he just got to a point where he had to go ahead and cut it off. And I feel like for the Rogaine people, that was a real indictment of what they had going. Because I figured he should have just been able to keep it cracking from then on out. For Karl Malone to give up after starting with the Rogaine, I didn't feel like that was a real testament to the Rogaine. But if they had the Beijing back then, I bet he would have been out here. Karl Malone would have been Beijinging it up, dripping down his face the whole way. Or would it be like the Carlos Boozer Beijing experiment? You remember that? Carlos Boozer put all that Beijing on, and he couldn't wash it off.
Didn't y'all ask him about that on HQ?
We did, and he said he was so shook coming to the game with it because he knew he was going to be playing the Celtics, so he knew KG was going to give him the blues about having all that Beijing. So, yeah, Ray Lewis going to have Beijing dripping all the way. Ooh, Shannon, they got to put, like, plastic over his jacket so the Beijing don't stain his jacket? Like, is that what they're going to have to do for Ray Lewis? In fact, y'all going to bring that up, too. Y'all going to put somebody in the Hall of Fame out there with performance enhancers in his hair. How you not going to do that? They ain't never say, I killed nobody. He's going to say that, too. We know T.O. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys telling us about that time that y'all decided y'all didn't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phones and talk to Sean in Los Angeles. Sean, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what it do, Bomani?
What's going on?
What it do, Bomani? So, coming to my senior year, I was maybe a top 20 DB in the city of L.A., and I was playing against a school, and they was at the 2-yard line. And for some reason, I knew the play. So they faked to the running back left and tried to throw a slant. I picked that sucker off, man. I thought I had a pick six running down the field like Deion showing out. Next thing I remember was waking up on the sideline because I guess the running back came around and cleaned me out. Ran me down all the way down the field and cleaned me out. And then the running back happened to be Steve Smith.
Ooh, yeah. He seemed like the type that was hitting extra hard in high school.
Oh, man. And then we went to I went to a junior college after. And he remembered me. It was so embarrassing, man. I said, I don't play football no more. I'm sticking to baseball.
Hey, man, I appreciate the call. Shannon, we got a verdict on that guy?
Ooh, that one's up in the air. That can go either way.
He started with the what it do, but then he ended playing baseball.
The jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, if I remembered his name, I'd put it up on the poll.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Boy's been calling in, telling us about the day that you decided, I don't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phones and talk to Chris in Oklahoma. Chris, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, Shannon, really was just calling in about y'all's opinion and wondering, it's not a story about me quitting football. What do you think about keeping the Thursday games to holidays, as in Christmas, Thanksgiving, and fall break, I don't know, and moving them all to doubleheader Monday nights?
Well, the issue with doubleheader Monday night, and I appreciate the call, is anybody staying up that late? Simple as that. Nobody is staying up that late.
Not to mention, if you did that, then you're going to have to move the start time up to 7 o'clock for your first game.
And they don't want that either. No, this is not it. No. Thursday night, and I have all the problems in the world with Thursday night games. Monday night games come with their own issues also in terms of rest and travel and everything else. But Thursday night games, no, they're bad news. They're the ultimate money grab, but just about everybody involved has decided that they're going to bite their lip, go ahead and do what they got to do for that bread. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Kevin Durant this summer. So I have said that I thought Kevin Durant didn't care what people thought. And I guess I needed to be more specific in the sense that I think that Kevin Durant didn't care what people thought to the point of, like, stopping him from doing what he was doing. Like, he made the decision he was going to go to Golden State. People weren't going to like that he was going to go to Golden State, but he was going to do it anyway. So he clearly cares about what he does not care to the point where it's going to interfere with what he wants to do. But, man, he just can't stop going on and on about this. A peep game, right? They're putting out the new Kevin Durant shoes, the KD 10s, and the insole has all the names that people called him after he left Oklahoma City to go play for the Warriors. And then on top of it, it's got like some of his stat lines from the 5 finals games against the Cavs, and it says most valuable player. And people went and bought all these shoes up. And Shannon, doesn't he have he had a cupcake shoe, right? Like, wasn't it a red velvet cupcake shoe?
He had the red velvet cupcake shoe. For those of you who don't remember, the folks in Oklahoma City started calling Kevin Durant a cupcake.
What is he doing? Like, is this helping anything? Am I missing something? Because the problem I think that Kevin Durant has here and where he can't win is all he can do is win, right? Like, all he can do is go to Golden State and win all the games, win the MVP, and play very well and all that stuff. And at every point when he does that, people are going to say a response, that's why you didn't need to leave Oklahoma City. Since you're so good, why'd you have to go play for them? There's no victory for him in this at all. Like, I feel like he keeps taking up this fight, and there's no chance for him. You're not going to be able to please these people. It can't be done. So, like, what did it take for LeBron to get people to get over the fact that he went to go play for the Heat? Because we treat his championships like they are championships. We don't put any sort of asterisk on them in the way that people are doing it with Kevin Durant. But I guess the difference with Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant went to a team that was already built. Like, I think that people could look back on what happened with the Heat and appreciate what was truly revolutionary. They basically had an expansion franchise. Right? They went there. There was no team. Nobody was left. I think the only guys that came back from the year before on that team were like Joel Anthony, Mario Chalmers, Udonis Haslem. Like, nobody really worth a damn came back for that team. So, like, they were basically building where there was no foundation before. And I think that people appreciated that wasn't nearly as easy as they had believed. It wasn't nearly as easy as LeBron had believed that it would be. But it's hard to make that argument when a team wins 73 games and then you add Kevin Durant. Right, like it's hard to say that Kevin Durant is the guy that put them over the top, even though I would make the argument Kevin Durant put them over the top because he gave them a second player who could get his own shot. And no matter how good they were in the regular season, you saw what happened in the postseason when they were hamstrung by the fact they only had one guy who could go out there and get his own shot. But, man, he keeps doing all this, man. It does kind of feel like whining just a little bit. Like, yeah, bruh, they called you names. Yeah, bruh, they did all of those things. Either be a villain about it, or you just got to let it slide. Like with LeBron. LeBron tried villain. Villain didn't work. Then he just went kind of on let it slide program. You're not about to be out here, yeah, they called you a traitor. Yeah, they called you all that, bro. They're going to call you all that stuff next year, too. If all you are is a champion, to be a champion is the only thing that matters, then put the champion stuff in there. Because you're not shutting anybody up. Whether you should or should not be able to shut people up is a completely different discussion. I'm just telling you, you're not going to be able to shut anybody up. They made that decision about you, homie. They made that call. They feel like you took a shortcut. And then you took a shortcut and you took less money this year to keep the thing happening, which is then ordinarily, you know, we look at you kindly for taking less money for the squad. Nope. You just made the cut even shorter. Shannon, they looking at him like you're so dedicated to the easy way that you paid money for a championship.
Oh, but to your point, though, like usually don't we praise athletes that continuously take less money, like Dirk Nowitzki? Every time he had to re-up.
We don't. Huh? We include me don't, but yeah, you're right.
But folks generally will applaud these guys for taking less money to help the team out, you know? So shouldn't that be applauded, right?
Yeah, because ultimately the decision whether or not to applaud has nothing to do with the action and more to do with just whether or not they like you in the first place. That's what it is. And a lot of people decided they were going to be down on Kevin Durant once he made that decision. Also, Shannon, a lot of America really gets charged up about the notion of the small town, right? Everybody wants all the best things in the world for the small town, even though y'all don't want to live in them. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Taking your questions, taking your calls on what made you decide you're going to quit playing football. Let's talk to Sonny in Georgia. Sonny, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
All right, so about my last game of my senior year, had a running back coming around the end. I played nose guard at 5'4" and 165 pounds. So I come running around the end to cut him off. He ducks inside, and the defensive end that is hold of his shirt leg whips me in the back of the knee, blows the knee out altogether. You know, I had more pain from not being able to play football anymore because I was going to go play Division II. But it all worked out because the Lord knew I wanted to be a veterinarian, so he hit me in the knee.
No, that'll do it. I'll tell you this, too. I appreciate the call. One thing that's fun here is hearing the heights and weights of some of these positions in some of these lesser football states. Because I'm from Texas. We ain't putting none of y'all in these positions.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at presnapreads.com. Also check him out on the Nickel Package podcast here at ESPN. His name is Kian Fahey. All right, now, Kian, one thing you and I talked about a lot last year was Dak Prescott and his inability to find Dez Bryant. He targeted him 9 times in the last game, only got the ball to him 2 times. What did you think, one, about his attempts to get the ball to Dez and just generally how Prescott looked in the offense?
I thought the attempts to get the ball to Dez were a lot better in this game. I know you can look at the raw numbers of it, but he took shots when shots were meant to be taken, and he had 2 deep throws, one early and one, I think it was the third quarter, that were both going into the end zone where they were well-placed balls. On the first one, Jenkins just played really good coverage, and on the second one, again, Jenkins played pretty good coverage, and Dez just couldn't get off the ball at the end. I thought that game actually more the performance other than the game, but Dak's performance in that game was kind of really interesting because it was kind of tainted a bit or kind of warped with the perception of it at the very beginning when he had those 2 wild misses of Dez in the end zone. But after that point, he was phenomenal, and it wasn't that he was like making big throws like I was just talking about, or he was running over people, or he was consistently hitting short routes. It was what he was doing before and at the snap. There was one point relatively early in the game where they hurried up to the line, but they didn't rush the snap. Prescott got everyone into their lineup into the right positions, and he stood there and he surveyed the defense, and he called up the first play. He got back into his stance to receive the ball, and then a young quarterbacks typically will do that once and they'll think they've figured it out and they'll go. Whereas Dak got to the top of his drop and stood there and waited and kind of surveyed again and decided to change the play again, doing a second audible, and it looked like a full-blown audible. Obviously I can't tell, I'm trying to guess from watching on the sideline, but doing that, and then as soon as the ball got snapped, he looked at his first read, came off his first read in an instant to move a linebacker and hit Bryce Butler on the backside of the play, and Butler dropped the ball, and that was a really, really impressive thing to do mentally. It didn't get anything back because of Butler, but what Dak did there is why he's going to sustain success for a very long time. And I probably won't go into the detail of it, I can if you want, but the Zeke Elliott 30-yard gain later in the play, or later in the game, was a complete setup from Dak doing something pre-snap, figuring out the coverage and knowing exactly where to go with the ball.
Now, how different is that from last season? Because then you and I were kind of in the same boat where he played well for a rookie, but people got caught up in the win-loss record.
It is different, but the issues with Dak last year were more about his actual placement of the ball. He was still accurate enough, but like we mentioned with Dez, the problem for Dak in his rookie season was he wasn't good at putting the ball into tighter windows. He was good at hitting the wide open throws. It's why Jason Witten and Cole Beasley were featured so much, and he was able to do that because he played behind a great offensive line and because he's really, really smart and he's really patient in the pocket. But this new level, just with that willingness to the composure, the comfort to audible twice after hurrying up, to come off the first read instantly as soon as you see it's not there, and with that Zeke play, that Zeke play, I probably should break it down just because he did everything perfectly on that play, and it was not an easy thing to do. You will probably look at that play, and if you're not like myself, when I watched it casually, I just saw a 30-yard gain and I saw Zeke Elliott running up and downfield. But when I went back and looked at it, Dak was after setting everything up on the left side, coming back to the right, figuring out what the coverage was based on the movement on that side, and then using his eyes after the snap to keep the safety on the wrong side of the field. So when Elliott got the ball, he was running into wide open space, but that wide open space was because of what Dak had done. It wasn't because the defense blew a coverage or anything like that.
All right, Don DeKey and Fahey, PreSnapReads.com, also the Nickel Package Podcast. Switching gears, how about your man Sam Bradford on Monday night?
Sam has been someone I've always kind of talked up a lot throughout his career because I think he's always been kind of unfairly judged because he's played on such bad teams. Like right now, I think he's got the best wide receiver he's ever had. It's either Thielen or Diggs, and the second best wide receiver he's ever had, Thielen or Diggs, and he has them as a combination, so that's huge. Like before, he was throwing to guys like Austin Pettis and Brandon Gibson and Brian Quick, guys who you probably don't even know at this stage because they're not even in the league. I think Quick is, but he's on the edge of Washington's roster. Bradford, I think the question coming out of that game was it just the Saints defense? The Saints defense is bad again, but I didn't think the Saints defense played particularly bad. They weren't particularly good, but Bradford was making difficult plays. It wasn't like with Alex Smith a little bit when on last Thursday when he was throwing to wide open receivers because there was blown coverages and mismatches. Bradford was actually fitting the ball into tight windows and delivering it just before he got hit. He did that. The touchdown he had for the early in the game off of play action, that was wide open. But besides that, there was there were many throws against blitzes. There were many throws where he was fitting the ball between an underneath defender with a safety over the top. There's one in particular to Jarius Wright, which is probably going to be the best throw of last weekend, and it might even be the best throw of the whole season because you literally can't see Wright when you see Bradford release the ball.
Have you figured out an appropriate comparison for Thielen yet?
I'm going with Santonio Holmes, which is but I got a lot of Chris Hogan suggestions, I got a lot of Danny Amendola suggestions, and you know yourself.
But at least he's about the same size as Hogan though, right? Like at least we could go there. Like I could see that one a little bit.
I think the thing that's different for me with Thielen, and it's why I really, really like him, is he's really flexible and he runs great routes. Hogan's pretty flexible too, but he's a bit more of a guy who's going to lean on a defensive back. He's a little bit bigger and he's a little bit more linear because of that. the beautiful thing with Thielen is, and they've moved him to the slot this year. Last year he played outside, and he's a vertical threat, and he runs great routes, and like that's the stereotypical thing, it's typical thing to say, but he does legitimately run great routes that set him up to break up and downfield. But the beautiful thing about it is, even if he's not open, he can make those adjustments and kind of erase any poor accuracy there wasn't last night. But he can make plays on the ball in the air and against tight coverage, and I don't think Hogan does that as well as him. So if you do want to go down that route, that would be my one main qualm.
All right, we're done to Kean Fahey, presnapreads.com, also the Nickel Package podcast here on ESPN. We'll talk about the Falcons right fast. They went from Kyle Shanahan to Steve Sarkisian. What do you see different in the offense?
It was completely different and not for the good. The first thing we have to do is explain what Kyle Shanahan's offense was. It was a very heavy play-action offense. It used about 22% of Matt Ryan's attempts last year were after play-action, and a lot of them were hard play fakes. Dak was second in the league at about 18%, and then everyone else was around 16% and below. And in that game at the weekend, I think they used play-action maybe 2 or 3 times. They didn't throw the ball deep downfield. But in Shanahan's offense, they used those hard play fakes to throw the ball deep. They would push the ball down to Taylor Gabriel, who was in wide open space, Julio Jones, who can get open on his own. But Shanahan would be able to scheme these guys open. And the very first game, and I know someone mentioned it to me, the Soldier Field might be an issue because it's a slow field, but the way that offense run was completely different. It was 5-yard passes, short-yard passes. It was Matt Ryan taking straight dropbacks in the pocket where he has to make tougher decisions and he has to actually mitigate the pressure coming around him. And the only big play they actually created was kind of created outside of structure. It was that Austin Hooper play when he's right down the middle of the field. And it was a very bizarre play because Matt Ryan seemed to lose his balance in the pocket and kind of didn't know where he was going and fell over. But the protection was so good that he could just get back up again and look up. And because he had kind of fallen down, the defenders had lost their assignments and let Hooper run wide open downfield. So you were getting a similar result on that one play, but compared to last season, it was just totally different. There were way too many short throws to Mohamed Sanu with no option for a big play or options after the catch, and that's just not going to be good enough.
All right, last question for Kean Fahey, presnapreads.com, also the Nickel Package podcast on ESPN. Another team that had a change in who's calling plays is Washington. Sean McVay is no longer there, so Jay Gruden went back to calling plays, and it did not look good. What do you think about that one?
You know me, I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan, but I felt that was less about the play caller and more about the absence of Deshaun Jackson, the absence of Pierre Garçon. In that game, in general, that wasn't a well quarterback game. The two quarterbacks combined for 1 of 11 deep throws on accuracy, and that was obviously Wentz's touchdown at the start of the game, but Wentz had 3 interceptable passes in that game on deep throws as well. Cousins is... It was the same issues as always. It was if there's anyone within 2 yards of him, he gives up on his feet and the ball goes all over the place. It was trying to throw the ball when he doesn't have his feet set and the ball sailing on him because he doesn't have a strong arm. It was trying to throw the ball to the flat where Jordan Reed... Actually, the game ended when Jordan Reed was just standing on his own in the flat and Cousins threw it to him and it bounced 3 yards away from him and Reed was just standing there dejected, and that had happened a couple of times throughout the game. This is going to be a situation to monitor all year because I do think Cousins is going to be exposed quite a bit now, and there are going to be a lot more games like this where it's obvious. I thought it happened a lot last year, but they could cover it. I think this year it'll be overtly in your face and you won't be able to ignore it.
All right, that's Kean Fahey. Check him out, presnapreads.com, also the Nickel Package podcast here at ESPN. He'll be joining us every week on The Right Time. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
So, First Take was out there in Los Angeles. This is going to shock you guys, but LeVar Ball was available to show up and do television. Shannon, apparently he is available for all media appearances except for us.
Yeah, but we get Lonzo and Lonzo. Hey, how'd you feel about that? Yeah, it was good. You know,
how do I not take it personally that LeVar Ball will go on TV or radio with anybody in the world but won't show up to hang out with us, right? Anyway, he got on First Take and LeVar did the thing that LeVar does, which is, talk a little bit reckless. I mean, nothing like harmfully reckless this go around, at least not to me. But here is LeVar saying that he thinks, just find out what he expects from the Lakers this year.
What the Lakers gonna do this year, man?
50+ wins.
You must be. What? What did you just? What did you just say? Wait, have you?
He can fit 50 out of 80 games.
I'm gonna get somebody to drug test you. I'm gonna get somebody to drug test you. You must be crazy.
But you know what?
You must be crazy.
I have to be crazy. How'd I make him go on the Lakers? I'm good. Told you so.
Listen.
I do a lot of things.
You did say that. You did say that. So you fixed the ping-pong balls too. That's what you did. That's what you did.
Don't have to fix him. I'm so lucky he was going to come up number 2. He's been number 2 all his life. They lined up for him.
Number 2 all his life.
Number 2 all his life.
Number 1.
Melo's number 1. You know that.
Oh, Lord.
Melo's number 1. Zoe's number 2, and Jello's number 3. That's the numbers. But you see how
I just don't know what to do with you. I was trying to have a reasonable conversation with you, and you start off the show. You start off your appearance on the show. Talk about the Lakers with Ingram and Julius Randle and Larry Nance. I mean, they're nice young players. 50 wins? 50? Really? And you're going to say that with a stress? And you're going to say that with a stress?
Very easy. And you know how I tell my son how to do it? Every 20 games, you got to go 15-5 at the least. He went over there at UCLA. How many times he lose? He not a loser. He a winner.
Okay, first of all, they call that middle boy Jello. Like, I guess you kind of, you got to have a nickname when you LiAngelo, but Jello? I don't feel like Jello is a nickname. I hope he's in good shape, right? Because if you're not in good shape and they call you Jello, it's like they're not shortening your name. They playing you to your face. He also said 50 games. Yo, I say this right now. No disrespect to the homie Max Kellerman, but you better not show up late for work on the wrong day, because I'll take 5 days a week, Stephen A. and LeVar Ball. I will take it. Anybody who's good enough at just hitting that space of Stephen A. that drives him crazy, that is masterful television. Now, of course, we know LeVar, a bit bombastic. That's how he gets down. But listen to what he's got to say about the possibility of LeBron coming to play for the Lakers.
Tell you what, you can start spelling his name L.A. Bron. He'll be here. Because he's a businessman. He done did everything in Cleveland. You got to come over here and play with my son.
Oh, your son, not the Lakers. Yeah. Not the Lakers. Far be it to be the Lakers. It got to be your son. Can't be the Lakers.
Hey, it had to be for my son. He didn't come last year. He wasn't even thinking about it. Now you get Lonzo.
He's scoring a lot of points today. He's having a good day.
Listen, you can say that.
He ain't talking about coming 2 or 3 years ago.
Excuse me. I like your son a lot. Yes. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for y'all. But I am telling you this. He hasn't played yet. And his daddy opened his mouth and might have cut checks his son can't cash. It's possible. Because your son's got to go up against a whole.
I'm going to tell you one thing.
Steph Curry. Remember what you said about Steph Curry? Remember what you said about Steph Curry? Do you know what's going to happen to your son when he goes up against Steph Curry? You don't know.
No, I don't know.
This is foreign to you. Let me tell you something. You gonna be there? You gonna be there in attendance? You gonna be there in attendance? You gonna be there in attendance for that game and watch your son go up against Steph Curry? You know what's gonna happen to him? Do you know what's gonna happen to your son when he goes up against Russell Westbrook?
I tell you what, Steph Curry better not go over there and try to guard him. How's that?
Oh, it's like that.
I bet you he won't go over there and try to guard him.
It's like that.
Guaranteed. You will see it.
Dude, that is so barbershop that all that's missing is Max over there waiting to get a fade from a Filipino barber. That is the only thing that is missing there to make that like full-on barbershop situation that they got there. Magic got to be like, yo, man, you got to chill out, right? Because we do have a chance at getting LeBron James. I think they have a legitimate chance of getting LeBron James. I think LeBron winds up in Los Angeles. My guess would be with the Lakers. Wouldn't shock me if with the Clippers, but my guess is he winds up there with Los Angeles. Yo, you ain't about to be out here making it look like LeBron is running behind your son. That's not how this is. No. Like, I understand why you feel like saying this sort of thing. That's not. No, LeVar. Magic got to be like, hey, man, you got to let LeBron feel like it's his idea. That's the trick behind these things. Also, has anybody gotten us a video of Magic talking to LeVar? Because something tells me that if LeVar feel like he could have beaten Mike in his heyday, you think LeVar think he could have beat Magic in his heyday? Because the problem is Magic 6'9". You think LeVar feel like he had a chance at him? You think LeVar think he could have got him?
Look, he won't say it publicly. He probably don't think so, but he won't say it publicly.
No, I bet he will say it publicly. You know what he say? Magic never could play defense. That's what he would say. But hold on. LeVar wasn't done. You may have seen the ESPN rank. It put Carmelo Anthony at number 64 in the league, 64th best player in the NBA. Put Lonzo at 63, and this is going to shock you, but LeVar doesn't see what the problem is with that.
How in the world did we get here where somebody's talking about a ranking in the 60s? Don't rank me in those 60s. 60 is like 80. He should be mad that he ain't in the top 10.
Your son.
But you know what? No. Carmelo.
Got it.
You talking about you arguing with a dude talking about he's ranked higher than me at 60? Man, don't rank me in those 60 and think I'm aware about it. It's an opinion to keep everybody talking about who should be the best.
Yes.
And you worried about 60 and 63, you worried about the wrong thing. His game is going down on the fact that he's getting older. That's what happens to all the ball players.
But 64.
Don't get mad. 64.
64, Carmelo Anthony, 64. See, that makes me embarrassed for our network. Somebody did that.
Well, here's the thing. You saying 30 teams or whatever, 2 on each team.
That's right.
But some teams got 4 and 5 people better than him.
No team got 5 players better than Carmelo Anthony, or even 4. Well, maybe the Warriors.
Well, all right, let's look at the Spurs. Come on. You got to figure out what he's doing. He's been with the next guy.
You guys
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. But who going to play with him? He's holding the ball too long.
That's fair enough, but the point
is... So I'm saying that makes you a better player because you score more points? I don't mean nothing.
Shannon, has Melo tweeted about this yet? Has Melo been made aware?
I'm just waiting on the Instagram post. Hashtag stay Melo. Hashtag hoodie Melo.
I figure Melo going to try to crack on his grill. Like, that's the direction I think that Melo is going to wind up going in. And then tomorrow, Lala going to be on Instagram in a Lonzo jersey.
Like, honestly, what has happened this offseason in terms of Carmelo? Is this all Phil Jackson and the assassination of his character? What has happened here?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think part of it is Phil Jackson and the character assassination. I also think part of it is dogging Melo is a way of big upping Porzingis. Because everybody's got the whole thing, we got to get Melo out of here to make room for Porzingis. And I'm like, how is that going to make things better for Porzingis? Nobody's really giving me a great answer for what that's going to be, like what you really get out of getting Melo out of there. But no, we're at a point where Melo spent a lot of his career being overrated, and now suddenly he is wildly underrated. Wildly underrated. And it's like, you think Melo would have done something to somebody. Right? Other thing that makes no sense to me, too. Shannon, how many people out here talking about how Carmelo ain't no good no more, but they love Kyrie Irving, when Kyrie Irving, the demerits against Melo are the same demerits against Kyrie Irving. Right?
Funny how that works. And you would think that Kyrie would get more criticism considering he's supposed to be a point guard.
And a big difference between the two of them, and you can't forget, Melo showed up in the league on a bad team, and they instantly got 20-something games better. Like, sorry, man. Like, I think we're going to reach a point where we're going to get done with this and years are going to pass and we're going to look back when Melo gets into the Hall of Fame and we're just going to be like, okay, maybe we were overreacting just a little bit. Melo had a season where he averaged like 27 points a game and shot 45% from the field, and people are trying to say what's wrong with Melo. And then, you know, LeVar Ball out here popping this. I guess there's no chance that LeVar's going to guard. I mean, that Lonzo's going to guard Melo, and he better be lucky because Melo going to give him. There's going to be some people that's trying to give Lonzo to work, and it would help if he was a better defensive player, right? All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys been calling up talking about the day you decided, nah, I don't want to play football no more. Let's hit the phone and talk to Pat in D.C. Pat, thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, love the show, man. I really been needing to talk about my last day or what ended my football career. All right, freshman year, I played quarterback and second-string free safety. The problem with second-string free safety is everybody else on the defense is also second string. So it's our first scrimmage of the year. I didn't even get to a game. First scrimmage. The first play that I was in on defense, it was a fullback dive. Now, I was proud of myself for reading that and recognizing that. Problem was my D-line, non-existent. The linebackers, I don't know where they went. And now I got a fullback running straight at me with like a 15-yard head start. So I hit him, tried to tackle him. I think he fell just because he, like, stepped on my chest and tripped, right? So everybody's laughing. The other team's laughing. My coaches are laughing, right? And, you know, it's the next play. So then I noticed it's a scrimmage, right? So they coach you in between plays, and it's not like a game. But this next play happened really fast. Like, we were back at the line ready to go. So I got in my head right away. I was like, oh, they just called the same play again. Like, everyone wanted to see this happen again, right? So I'm ready for it. And what I realized was the kid playing fullback was like a fat kid with speed. Like, it was one of the linemen that they just put out there on their team to test them out on fullback, right? So the next play happens, same thing. My second-string D-line does nothing. I don't even know what the linebackers weren't getting blocked. They just, like, didn't want any parts of this kid. So it's me and him again. And this time, like, my pride is hurt. I'm like, man, I'm going to do what I can do to light this kid up. Man, I go at him. I tried to hit him so hard, I closed my eyes. I didn't do textbook. I tried to spear him and it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. And that's kind of like the last thing I remember until I was just looking at this beautiful blue sky. I don't think I looked at the sky all day. It was a beautiful sky. And I never forget, my head coach and the running backs coach, who's the defense coordinator, are like looking at me, talking to me. And I can't quite hear him yet. But man, I spent the rest of the whole rest of the scrimmage with my pads off, sitting on the side, and I finished the season, but I didn't play any more defense, and finished my high school career on the basketball team.
Hey man, let me tell you something. I appreciate the call.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.